Namaste and welcome viewers to another brand new episode of Mirror Prime. I'm Ashish Pareek. The Indian team has now survived a massive scare at the Gaba today. The test is drawn and the Border Gavaskar Trophy scoreline also stands at 1-1 as we head into the Boxing Day test. But none of this is on our focus today. It is a day to celebrate one of Indian cricket's finest, a spinner with a mind sharper than his turners, Ravichandran Ashwin. A career spanning 14 years has now concluded, but not before Ashwin etched his name in cricketing folklore. 537 test wickets, the second highest by an Indian, 7th on the all-time list, 37 5-wicket hauls and 11 Player of the Series awards. These are stats that speak volumes about Ashwin's dominance. Add to that, over 3,500 test runs, 6 centuries and 14 50s. Ashwin was not just a spinner, he was an all-round wizard. Here's a report.
A cricketer par excellence, a mind sharper than his turners, and a journey that's inspired millions. Ravichandran Ashwin, a man who redefined the art of spin and left an indelible mark on the cricketing world, has bid farewell to international cricket. The announcement came after India's drawn third test against Australia at the Gabba. At 38, the iconic spinner called time on a 14-year-long career filled with unforgettable highs. His numbers tell a story of sheer dominance, the second highest wicket taker for India and 7th on the all-time list in tests. Ashwin's 537 test wickets include a record 268 left-handers dismissed, and his 11 Player of the Series awards are a testament to his match-winning abilities. But Ashwin wasn't just a bowler. With over 3,500 test runs, 6 centuries and 14 50s, he is in an elite club of all-rounders with 3,000 runs and 300 wickets. From India's ODI World Cup win in 2011 to the Champions Trophy triumph in 2013, Ashwin's contribution to Indian cricket's golden moments was immense. In the World Test Championship, he stands unmatched as the highest wicket taker with 195 scalps. Australian skipper Pat Cummins summed it up perfectly, calling Ashwin one of the all-time greats. Ashwin's journey began with the IPL, where he first shone under MS Dhoni's captaincy at Chennai Super Kings. Known for his ability to deliver under pressure, he became an IPL stalwart. And now, as he steps away from the international stage, Ashwin will rejoin CSK for the 2025 IPL season, continuing to entertain the cricketing world. Farewell, Ash. Thank you for making spin more magical.
Well, what a brilliant career there for Ravichandran Ashwin. He's made India proud. And even as we celebrate Ashwin's legacy, the focus continues to be on the Border Gavaskar Trophy. The spotlight again shifts to the present stalwarts of Indian cricket, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, two names that are synonymous with greatness, but names that are also now under immense scrutiny. Rohit Sharma, the captain, whose field placements and also form are drawing sharp criticism. Virat Kohli, on the other hand, the run machine who continues to poke his bat outside the off stump like he did in 2014, much to the frustration of Indian fans. And as India continues to stumble in the ongoing series against Australia, still surviving largely because of the brilliance of Bumrah, questions now loom large. Can these two senior pros rise to the occasion, or will the pressure down under get the better of them? We'll be discussing this and a lot more. Joining us right now are our guests, Monty Panesar, former English international cricketer, Sunil Subramaniam, who's a former manager of the Indian team and also the former coach of Ravichandran Ashwin, and also joining us is Rajinder Amarnath, former cricketer. Let me start with Monty now. Monty, every time I speak to an Indian fan about Monty Panesar, one of the things that he would talk about is the 2012 England tour of India and the nightmares that you gave to all the Indian fans then. Also, in the same tour, a young Indian spinner was trying to make his name. Ravichandran Ashwin. Today, he's become an all-time great. He's retired from all three formats of the game. How do you look back on his career? What are your fond memories of Ashwin? And also, how do you rate him now that he's also called as an all-time great?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on the show. I think Ravi Ashwin is always going to be known as one of the great spinners of all time and one of the modern great spinners that India have produced. And I think he was one of the first spinners who benefit from the IPL, and then got better in 4-day cricket, which I'm sure you got so much inspiration from watching Harbhajan Singh and learning from him. And then he took his game to the next level where he was able to bowl with different variations. On turning pitches, he was an absolute match winner, just like the James Anderson of English conditions, to be honest. And, he educated us, he entertained us. I loved everything, about him. I remember he said a famous line. He goes, spin bowling is like an app. Every 6 months, it needs updating. And I think that's what he did throughout his career. He came up with new tricks all the time, different seam positions, different ways to get batsmen out. And I think, one thing that out of them, top 7 lists that we talked about is that his batting, he's the only guy in that top 7 list to have 6 centuries. So it's phenomenal to see someone who was predominantly started off as a batsman, ended up becoming one of the greatest off spinners of all time.
Absolutely. In fact, I'll take this point across to Sunil Subramaniam, who's not just the former manager of the Indian team, also the former coach of Ravichandran Ashwin. Sunil ji, of course, you've seen Ashwin from very close quarters. When you first saw him, did you really think that this lad from Chennai would go on to become such a great of Indian cricket? Not just his bowling, of course, that itself would get him a legendary status, but also his batting, some of the contributions that he's had with the bat. We talk about 6 centuries, but beyond that as well, he's played some very important knocks for India.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for inviting me for the show. Yeah, I'd be lying if I say that as soon as we saw him or we discovered him that he would be the player he turned out to be. The initial search was for the spin for the next generation of spinners from my state, Tamil Nadu. And after the retirement of few of us, there was a lack of quality in the spinners coming through, and that's where I spotted him. And I knew that he had everything that a spinner has to have. He's got height, he spins the ball, he's got long, big fingers and very dexterous as this. But more importantly, what he had was the psyche of a spinner. I've seen a lot of cricketers, quite a few of them, who did both the departments well, but somehow their psyche fitted batting. A bowler has to have something called the ability.
But Sunilji, sorry to interrupt you. Was Ashwin always this serious only about spin, or was he as proud about his batting even back then as he is now?
Yeah, he's a complete, as he's himself proclaimed, he's a complete cricket nut. It's not just his batting, also his fielding, catching, and bowling. But I was more inclined to drill it into him that he's a top class spinner, and if the breaks were to come on time,
right,
and because he was almost pushing 25, 24 when he made his debut, if the breaks were to come on time, I knew he would get into people's heads. Now Monty was just talking about innovations, and let me tell you something. That innovation bit is what he has done to get into people's minds. Simple as that. He's been doing what an off-spinner should do, relentless at it, but he's conjuring these ideas where people have got, M.L. Jayasinghe used to say, it's not just spin, it's the illusion of spin. And he was very articulate in pushing through the illusion of spin. So they were looking for, you're looking for a danger when there was none. And all he did was prying on the minds of batsmen. He did, of course he had
Absolutely,
the ball.
his mind games, and of course, not just a great spinner, but also a great thinker of the game as well. In fact, also, let's get in Rajendra Amarnath into the discussion here. Rajendra ji, a very important series like the Border Gavaskar Trophy, as one would expect, it has its casualties. Some careers end while others flourish. But R Ashwin's retirement, not sure if anyone really saw this coming, and that too in the middle of the series, especially with the Sydney Test coming up. Rajendra ji, I think you're mute right now. Right, we'll try fixing the network there with Rajinder J, but I'll take the same point across Monty. Monty, were you surprised with the decision that R Ashwin has taken? Now, Nathan Lyon has come out and said that, well, he appreciates Ashwin and the career that he's had, but he's left scratching his head about the decision that Ashwin has taken, especially with the Sydney game coming up, where one would have expected a duel between Nathan Lyon on one side and R Ashwin on the other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's taken everyone by surprise. And I think you've got an absolute valid point. If he wanted to retire, he could have retired after the Sydney Test match on a pitch that is going to be turning. And like you said, you know, the battle between Nathan Lyon and Ashwin would have been fantastic for the world of cricket wanting to see. And it would have been probably a nice fitting for him to end. But I don't know what the real truth is. You know, I think the truth will come out in the next sort of couple of weeks, what the real reason behind is of a sudden retirement, and we'll all probably find out. But if we go back to just his career, how well he has done, and, you know, I remember in particular the Sydney Test match in 2021, where he batted for 128 balls for that famous draw. And again, he couldn't get up. You know, his back was so sore, he couldn't get up. He's shown the grit, the endurance, the determination of how much of a fighter he was as a cricketer. And we know you know, how brilliant of a spinner he is. But for batting and drawing there in Sydney, I think was one of his finest moments in an Indian shirt.
Absolutely. In fact, we're talking about the team selections, and of course, Monty, like you rightly said, we'll find out the truth in a few days' time, or maybe we'll have to wait for someone to write a book. Only then we'll know what exactly is happening there behind closed curtains. But meanwhile, Sunilji, 3 spinners in 3 tests so far for India. There's been a great chatter about the selection and some of the reports as well about Ashwin being frustrated over team selections, and also given the fact that he was also #1 but still being denied the spot even in a match, for example, like the World Test Championship final. Do you think there is something brewing behind the scenes there?
It doesn't confine itself to this present management. I've been a part of the management for 2 years when Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli, the coach and captain duo over there. I mean, I have never seen, honestly, I have never seen such a world beater treated so shabbily. It's not just about this team management. It's on the previous one and the one before that, and maybe even before it. How could somebody who's got so many wickets and everybody on public praising him, we know he's an all-time great, how does he have to be benched? I can even understand when the first time when we beat Australia, 2018-19, where I was the manager of the team, and I'd seen we had the first victory. I would understand because we had 4 fast bowlers at their best. And Bumrah was just coming up, and we had 4 of them at their best. I could even there he had a role to play. The present team comprises of just one bowler, Jasprit Bumrah, Siraj, who's been patchy in recent times, and you don't have a full complement of fast bowlers to put the kind of pressure. And
but Sunilji, there's a label attached to Ravichandran Ashwin. Now, you are closely associated to Ravichandran Ashwin. You can give us a better perspective than anyone else. There's a label attached to Ravichandran Ashwin that he performs brilliantly well on Asian tracks, but when he goes overseas, he's just not the same player.
Let me play the devil's advocate. You have seen Virat Kohli bat so many years. How many times has he succeeded against the moving ball? He's been getting out from 2014. He's had one go to 2018, where even I went as a manager. But what are the records outside of India? Now, why are people like them not questioned? 6 years, 5 years of poor form? Come on. There has to be, I don't think it has been a fair representation. It's been overhyped. I believe he should have been a part of every Indian side. Not just cherry picking on India and overseas. Had he bowled on those tours, his bowling in overseas tour would have got far better than what has been presented. And I think there is a fit enough case for those who want to research as to how could a man with this many wickets be the only scapegoat. What about the batsmen? I can just name batsmen who are greats today. They have not been held accountable. They have played as though the batting slot belongs to them.
Right.
Why was he only picked? There's more to it than what beats said.
Right. In fact, I'll carry this point forward. You're asking a very brilliant question. There's something that we are all thinking about as Indian fans today. Monty, now Ashwin's retirement, everyone is calling it shocking, but there are a couple of more others whose retirement every Indian fan is almost asking for it now. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. Of course, they haven't been in a good touch for a long, long time now. In a short while from now, I'll read out the stats as well, which is even more shocking. But do you think this declaration here by Ravichandran Ashwin, in a way, has now put more pressure on Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli? Because now Indian fans are going to turn back and say, Ashwin has acknowledged his decline and he's decided to move ahead. Why don't you do the same?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it does put huge pressure on Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli because if they don't perform in the next few Test matches, then Gautam Gambhir will have to think, right, if they are not at their best, are we now going to maybe tap on their shoulder at the Sydney Test match, where then Gautam Gambhir just says that Rohit, I can't see you. You're not performing as well as I've seen you. I think we're going to move on with a new team coming to England for the 5 Test series. And I just don't think you're part of that team, because you look at the innings that KL Rahul played. He's the first batsman that you put on the list for an away Test series. Because of him, they drew. If he didn't bat that long period of time, that fantastic 84 that he scored, I think India would have lost this Test match as well. So Rohit's got to show that he can apply, he can bat long periods of time. He's just not a great player in India, when it comes to Test cricket. And he's got to prove that, for the Test match in Melbourne and Sydney. And if he does that, then, I think that gets him on the trip for the 5 Test matches in England. But Gautam Gambhir has to be strong in his leadership as well. He's got to think, right, who are my best 6 batters when it comes to away Test series, especially swinging seaming conditions? Who are the next guys coming up? And if he's got some young players coming up, then that's fine. But if he feels, actually, this is the best 6 I've got, then he's got to tell to Rohit Sharma, mate, you've got to step up. I know there isn't much competition there, but we want to see a bit more of you staying at the crease and showing a bit more responsibility. So I think there's some big decisions to be made. But this decision is very surprising. Let's be honest, Why didn't Ashwin play in the Test matches when
Absolutely, there's definitely something going on behind closed curtains there, and I think that's what you understand from this particular decision. In fact, a very valid point that Sunil also made is that we usually often box our bowlers, saying that this is a bowler who does well in Asia, this is a bowler who performs well overseas. Why don't we do it with our so-called superstars who continue to struggle not just overseas but also in India? Let me just read out some stat, and Rajinder ji joins us back right now. Rajinder ji, now here are some stats from 2023. Rohit Sharma, 21 matches, average of 32 in Test match cricket. Virat Kohli, 17 matches, average of 38. Now these are 2 players who have continued to struggle, and it even gets worse when you look at the first inning scores. For example, Virat Kohli's first inning average in the 2024-25 season is 9.12. A superstar with an average of 9. And Rohit Sharma's average is even worse. It is 8.85. Mr. Rajinder Amarnath, you've seen Indian cricket for so many decades. Do you think anyone with a record like this deserves a place in the playing 11? Doesn't matter how big of a superstar you are. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past. Do you think it's time Gautam Gambhir and the team management goes up to them, shows them the stats and tells them they've either got to go going or they need to find a way? Because this is not how Indian cricket team can work.
Well, it's easier said than done. You don't become a batsman overnight. You may be struggling. Definitely, Rohit and Virat both are struggling. But Virat has got a century under his belt. Don't forget that part also. Rohit definitely has to come good, because if India has to bounce back in the series, they have to start from the captain and then move downwards. And one thing I would like to tell, that your form could be temporary, but your class always remains permanent. No doubt, the bowlers get replaced and the batsmen.
But Mr. Rajinder ji, the question that the fans are going to ask is, why don't you go show that class in first-class cricket? Prove yourself and come back to the playing 11. You can't be scoring single-digit scores, have an average in single digits for a complete year, and trust the fans to stick by this old saying that class is permanent. How permanent is it?
I understand what you're trying to say, but let me be very clear that when you are going to change or replace Virat Kohli with a batsman, you have to see whether he has the capability of Virat or not. No doubt Virat is struggling, but We have seen he's got a good one innings in the series, and the way it's been dismissed.
We did not, Rajinder ji, we did not have Rohit Sharma in the first test match. We still won the test, so clearly we do have replacements. And I'll come back to you in a short while from now. But Monty, you just heard Rajinder ji here also talk, and now you've been to India in the past. You've played against the likes of Sachin Tendulkar. There's never been a bigger player in Indian cricket, or probably in world cricket, bigger than Sachin Tendulkar. Now India loves its share of hero worshipping, but do you think it has to stop somewhere? Somewhere, or someone in the leadership group needs to look at the numbers and say that these are great players, absolute legends, but I'm afraid they're not winning games of cricket anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what has to happen. You've got to have the hard discussions. If Gotham doesn't have the hard discussions now, then I think it shows weak leadership, and we know all what Gotham is about. He will step up, he will have the hard conversations. And this is probably the perfect opportunity now to do it with Ashwin retiring, which I'm really surprised as well, because Travis Head was the biggest problem for India, and Ashwin probably had an answer how to get him out. But now that's obviously gone. I think going forward, he's got to have a hard conversation with Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli as well. You can't just rely on Virat Kohli, the brand, and what he brings. He's got to say, guys, you guys got to step up, because if you won't step up, I am going to, I will be in the future. I may not even pick you. So I think Rohit Sharma's got 2 test matches, 4 innings to save his test career. And if he can save it, score a 50 or 100, or play just a crucial knock, 100 balls, 150 balls at the crease, I think he saves his test career. It's as simple as that. So I hope for Rohit Sharma's case and India's case, because I think he's a very good captain for India, that he does produce one of his good knocks, and then it takes all the pressure away from him. Then no one's going to talk about it. No cricket fans. They'll say, yeah, Rohit Sharma can play the test matches in England as well.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody denies here the fact that Rohit Sharma is a great player. He's, of course, done a lot of service to Indian cricket. He's won us a T20 World Cup. But how long can we sustain his career with those past records? And, of course, the buck has to stop somewhere. And this is something that Indian fans are also going to ask. And, Monty, like you said, a couple of tests that he's got to save his test career. And also the fact that Sunil Gavaskar, one of the most vocal backers of Rohit Sharma himself, has now come out and said that if Rohit Sharma doesn't play well in the next 2 matches, he's probably going to retire. I think that's an indicator in itself, and I think it's a very important series. It's a long series, and it's been even longer for these 2 superstars of Indian cricket that really have been struggling. And of course, Ashwin as well. It's the end of the road for his international career. Monty Panesar, Rajinder Amarnath, and also Mr. Sunil. Really appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. We'll of course discuss more as the series unwinds. And also on that note, viewers, it's a wrap on this edition of Mirror Prime. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned.